The NASCAR Busch Series has been on the go since Daytona. They've been out west twice and back east again with no break, and each week it's the young stars who have shined. Last week in Texas, a young gun with a familiar name served notice with a breakthrough win.
We'll get the white flag this time, and he's got to run.
Oh, he's got him loose coming down. He makes the move on the inside, Mike.
3 wide in the start-finish line past Glenn Allen. Dale Earnhardt Jr. into turn 1 with the lead.
Like his father, Dale Jr.'s first win would come in his 16th career start, and it catapulted him atop the Busch Series standings. Today, it's a return to the short tracks in Earnhardt Jr.'s backyard, Hickory, North Carolina. And on this Easter weekend, there's no time for an Easter egg hunt or the Easter Bunny. For nearly 50 years, race fans have flocked to the birthplace of NASCAR stars. The Hickory Speedway this afternoon on Easter weekend hosts the 8th race of the 1998 NASCAR Busch Series schedule. Let's take a look at the big storylines of this weekend. And heck, the storyline of the season has been, who's next? We've had 7 races already competed, 7 pole sitters, 7 different race winners, and already this weekend, an 8th different Bud pole sitter in Robert Presley. What do you think, Buddy Baker? Can we see another new winner here in 98?
Definitely. You have to go all the way back to 14th spot to find somebody that's won this year. On the pole, you have Robert Presley. He's a proven winner here. There's so many people in that top 13 right now that can make their first win this year. So, you know, anybody can win here at Hickory. The racetrack does not favor anyone. Everybody has a lot of experience on this type of racetrack.
And then you've got storyline number 2, and that is the walking wounded. After the last few weekends of racing, we've got more folks here, Larry McReynolds, who seem to be bothered by broken bones or even can't race at all, have substitutes in their place.
Well, you've got Hermie Sadler that's racing injured. Speaking from experience, his team main goal, besides a good performance, keep him comfortable in the car, find the end of this race without taking another hit. Then you got Jeff Purvis and Jimmy Foster's team, substitute drivers. As late as the middle of the week, these subs didn't even know they'd be racing this weekend. But you know what? If I was coming to Hickory to hunt a substitute driver, I couldn't think of 2 better ones than Andy Houston and Dennis Setzer.
And that leads us directly to our third storyline of the day, home track advantage. So many of the drivers in this field have called the Hickory Motor Speedway their home track over the years, not only in this series, but even in late model stock car racing. That includes the Jarrett family and our own Glenn Jarrett.
Well, thanks, Eli. You know, the last time that we saw Robert Presley on TNN was at Nashville. It looked like he was headed to victory lane, but he wound up in the wall. He hopes to change that today. He's on the pole here. You know, Robert has 41 career wins here at Hickory, but none of them in a Busch car. He's hoping to change that here today. What about it, Robert? Can you keep this thing up front?
I believe so. You know, we unloaded this Kingsford Charcoal 360 Chevrolet yesterday, and it's pretty fast right off the bat, and love this Hickory Speedway, and, you know, hope this will make it for a good Easter for us.
Well, I hope so, too. It's like a homecoming for him. You know, he missed the race last week at Texas on the pole today. On the outside pole, in a brand-new Ford Taurus, first time it's ever been raced, Ed Berrier. He has a career best finish here at Hickory of 5th. He's looking to improve that today as well. Now let's go further down pit road to my comrade on pit road. Here's Steve Burns.
Hey, Glenn, let's talk about that home track advantage. This is Jimmy Foster's car, but inside, Andy Houston gets the nod. He grew up 10 miles from here, watching his father race, his uncles race, his brother races here. Now, Andy, you start 7th today. You told me yesterday you could be dangerous here. Why is that?
Well, really, you know, it's a no-lose situation. I don't have any pressure on me. You know, it's a one-race deal. I'm just filling in for Jimmy, and I'm going to try to do the best job I can for Jimmy Foster and Dr. Pepper and this whole race team. It's a pretty good car, so we're going to try to be around there at the end.
Other guys to keep an eye on as far as home track advantage, Dennis Setzer, he won a race here in 1994. And how about Jason Jarrett? His grandfather, Ned, raced here in 1952. His dad, Dale, has won here. And yes, even his uncle Glenn has won a race. Eli?
So a lot of stories here today. We'll follow them all over the course of the 300 laps, 108.9 miles of racing. The starting lineup from Hickory next. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the Galaxy Foods 300 is being brought to you By Texaco. Texaco, a world of energy. And by the more than 1,900 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Welcome back to Hickory Motor Speedway. The Grand Marshal, the Iron Man, Jack Ingram, will be giving the command of fire engines shortly. Why don't we check out the starting grid for you with 31 teams going to the post today. Robert Presley, his 5th career Busch pole. Ed Berrier in a new car. The late model stock car standout, Kevin Grubb. Phil Parsons, the veteran. Rows 1 and 2. Row 3, there's the guy they call Hurricane locally, buddy, Mike Dillon.
If they said he'd come in here in 1994 and started winning races, won 5 and went on about his business. They call him the Hurricane. Come in, left, and it made a big impression.
Dick Trickle, Joe Bessie. Mark Green, he's led more miles this year, Larry Mack, than anybody else in the Busch Series.
7th in the points as well. He's been up front about all year long.
There you see some good young drivers and the mix of fellas who've run here before, like Dennis Setzer, who won in this series at this track in 1994. Hermie Sadler, 148 consecutive starts for him. Jason the Jet Jarrett in his Chevrolet. When Dale Jarrett drives the car, it's a Ford. When Jason's in it, it's a Chevrolet. Elliott Sadler, he's going to have to go to a backup car, but he used his up pretty badly here yesterday.
Yes, he did. And last practice, he got a little wide, getting in the corner, got in the loose stuff on the top part of the racetrack, and back to his primary car, into the wall. And
there you see one of the stranger stories. Randy LaJoy, shotgun on the field, and Larry Mack, the man, thought even led. He's won the championship now 2 years in a row. Hasn't even led a single lap.
Yeah, I talked to Birdie this morning, and they are a little bit confused. And I said, Birdie, I'll make a deal with you. When you figure your qualifying efforts out, if you'll let me know and we figure ours out, I'll let you know.
Of course, Birdie is Steve Bird, the team manager, crew chief for Randy LaJoy. Now let's check out the AutoZone race analysis brought to you by the more than 1,900 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Tough little racetrack here. There is some limited banking. Turns 1 and 2 bank 12 degrees. Turns 3 and 4, 14 degrees, and the straightaways are basically flat. Field now warming down on the pit lane, though it's plenty warm outside. Yesterday a chilly day, but here it's got to be in the mid-70s.
And you know what's interesting? This race is starting at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. By the time the end of this race comes to an end, you're going to see the sun go down, so the track could change.
Some quick pit updates for you. First, Glenn Jarrett.
Well, thanks, Eli. You know, we're looking at Elton Sawyer car. This is the 5th anniversary for that team as a race team together. They started here at Hickory 5 years ago, so they're celebrating their 5th anniversary. They hope they can continue that celebration in Victory Lane. Here's Steve.
You guys talked about Elliott Sadler a moment ago. Hermie Sadler in the 29. They are starting 17th, but boy, they are making major changes. This morning they changed 4 shocks, 4 springs, upper control arms, sway bar, track bar, and that is a car that Jeff Green drove. So changing everything but the paint job.
And of course, they've even changed Hermie around a little bit after injuring his right knee in Texas. They found out he had a dislocated fibula, and they relocated, if you will, on Tuesday, and he's going to be racing here. He says he feels okay so far, but let's talk a little bit more, he says, as the afternoon continues. As far as the in-car cameras are concerned, we'll be riding with veteran Phil Parsons, who's won here in late model stock races. He's never won the NASCAR Busch Series race here at Hickory. Matt Hutter making his very first start at Hickory. What's he going to be facing today, buddy?
I think Matt Hutter needs to just log laps right now and get a lot of experience. He does not have the experience on racetracks that some of the competitors do.
The FINA team will also be carrying the Channel Lock onboard camera today from shotgun on the field, so he should be giving us some thrilling pictures from the very, very back. The defending champion of this Galaxy Foods 300, the legendary Dick Trickle of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. And of course, Andy Houston from just up the road a piece in Hickory's downtown area. He too will be carrying the onboard cameras for us as he subs for the injured Jimmy Foster. Jimmy is here, has his foot in a cast in the aftermath of the accident last week, but just wasn't able to go. As far as the breakdown of the cars in the field, buddy, there's an interesting look.
It is that. In this field, we have 24 Chevrolets, 4 Fords, and 3 Pontiacs. You can see in the win column, Chevrolet dominated this year with 6 wins, and they're also leading the Manufacturers Challenge Championship.
We are getting set to go green. We are so happy you're spending part of your Easter weekend with us here on TNN Motorsports. Eli Gold, Larry McReynolds, Buddy Baker, Glenn Jarrett, Steve Burns, and the entire TNN family on hand here in Hickory. Stick around.
Ready?
Should be a good afternoon.
You ready? Green flag. Everybody go line outside.
He says the best way to keep all the problems behind you is to keep everybody behind you. But a good jump for the 52. That's Kevin Grubb trying to get that inside groove against Ed Barrier.
Ed Barrier there in the 77 on the outside. You can see he's up for the challenge here on the outside. He seems to be running right along with the preferred line, which is the bottom part of the track.
Grubb, a regular at the late model stock car division at the Southside Speedway in Richmond, Virginia over the years. He's also run at Mason Day's beautiful track, the South Boston Speedway.
Eli, this is a very unusual racetrack. Uphill on the back straightaway, downhill on the front straightaway. The corners here, if you try to overrun them, you heat the tires and you really get in trouble.
It's not quite as pronounced in the uphill, downhill, Larry, maybe as North Wilkesboro was.
No, it's not as pronounced, but you know, you've got to gear the car accordingly for both straightaways, and they are pulling probably the lowest gear here that they pull at any racetracks because this thing is a very small racetrack. You're turning all the time. You're off the gas, low RPMs, turn a lot of RPMs at the end of the straightaway.
My favorite shot, that's down there where you can see the car. You can see them leaning, trying to get as much pressure on the right side so that car holds tight through the corner. You can see the backs of these cars jump around a little bit. Very exciting to watch from that camera angle.
That was Dick Trickle's bumper cam we were riding along with. Good scramble right there. Jason Keller in the 57. He's running in 14th position. The 33 Tim Fedua, whose crew chief Butch Enders will be leaving the team after today's race.
And the 4 there, substituting for Jeff Purvis, is a very famous guy here, Dennis Setzer, who's won many, many races here.
Jeff Purvis with that broken collarbone from a weekend ago, taking this weekend off. And watch that yellow machine, the DeWalt colors, number 29, Hermie Sadler. Hermie has an average finish here of just over 9th place. He always runs well here at the Hickory Speedway.
And as we had from the pits a while ago, they changed that car entirely overnight. Seems to really hit a good combination. Hermie Sadler on the move.
20th place is the number 3 car on the inside lane. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just does get in front of the 80 of Mark Krogh.
Talked to Tony Uri and them this morning. They haven't been happy with that race car. Made a lot of changes this morning as well. A little bit optimistic, but question a lot of things have been going on this weekend.
47, Andy Santerre trying the outside in a former Terry Labonte car.
Oh, contact there.
The 56. That's Jeff Krogh trying to root his brother, Mark Krogh, out of the way.
Good way not to speak on the way home there.
Just ahead of Randy LaJoy are the 2 Kroghs. And that's Mike Pope in the Slim Jim car sneaking into the mix there. He's running in 25th.
You look at these cars right here, and this is kind of near the back of the pack, and you know the problem they've got, maybe their cars aren't handling as well as it should, but the leaders are getting real close to them already early in the race.
There's the situation up front, just 0.2 of a second between Robert Presley and Ed Barrier.
I think right now Ed Barrier is a little bit quicker than Presley. He's able to hold a little tighter line in the corner. He goes down underneath him, as you see there. If he gets a run up out of that corner and makes it side by side, he'll get by Robert Presley.
So they go down to 3 and 4. Presley just can't keep his car down. Ed Barrier got a little bit loose there off turn 4, has to fall back in line. But Ed's car is working a little better on the bottom there than Robert Presley's.
Ed Barrier in his 207th career NASCAR Busch Series start. Good battle also. The 50, that is Andy Houston subbing for Jimmy Foster. Glenn Allen in the 99 car. They're running 8th and 9th 4th right now, with Elton Sawyer in that number 38 Barbasol car right behind as well. Good scramble, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Elton Sawyer moves to the outside there of Allen's car going down into the corner. The outside groove here is definitely as fast as the bottom.
That is a camera that is on the jack stud, you know, where they put the jack under the car and start jacking it up. We have some cameras down low at that level as well to give you an eyeball look at the racetrack. I guess you'd call it jack stud cam, or just stud cam if you like to be on a first name basis.
Buddy, I look at the 38 car. I talked to Joey Knuckles. So that race car, they're pulling a unique transmission combination with that car. He's pulling an overdrive transmission. And what Elton does when the tires is fresh, say the first 15 or 20 laps, he pulls 3rd gear. When he feels like he's starting to spin the rear tires, he slides it in overdrive and actually has a little bit higher gear to keep from spinning the tires later on in the run.
The key to this racetrack is coming off the corner. If you don't spin the rear wheels, you can really fly around this place. But if you start overdriving the car, spinning the rear wheels, the back of the car gets totally uncontrollable.
ASA champion Kevin Sawinski in the number 89 car being lapped by Robert Presley. Matt Hunter in the Stanley car in his first ever visit to Hickory, also about to go a lap down. We've been clean and green so far, but it is early. Folks, don't forget, coming up at the 50-lap mark, you want to jot down who is leading this Galaxy Foods 300 and enter the take-home a piece of the action sweepstakes. You've got a chance to win a trip to the Winston, NASCAR's All-Star Race, or the MBNA Platinum 400 coming up on the 18th. So stick around for that at lap number 50. Battle for the lead is a good one, as the leader, Robert Presley, is trying to put a lap on the man with whom we are riding, Randy LaJoie, and you've also got Ed Berrier right there in the mix in the 77.
Ed Berrier made a tremendous run on Robert Presley there in the 59, got all the way up there and run right in the back of the 74 car of LaJoie, so they almost had an incident just now.
Presley got a good run off turn 4, got to the outside. LaJoie's not ready to give up, though. He keeps fighting on the inside there, trying to stay on the lead lap. See him dive it down into turn 3 right there, just trying to hope a caution comes out and he can be in front of Presley when it does come.
He's not going to be able to hold him. You can see LaJoie's car, the 74, get sideways just a little bit when he got back in the car.
You're listening to Randy LaJoie's radio. Randy LaJoie. Very honestly, folks, there have not been a whole lot of smiles around that 74 bunch all weekend long. They've really been scratching their collective heads trying to figure out exactly what's amiss.
You know, practice time is so limited at a racetrack like this. It's almost like if you come in and you're struggling, you almost never figure it out.
Yeah.
If you come in here, you're good, then you're good for the entire weekend.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., if you're curious, running back in 20th position as you see some of the beating and the banging in the middle of the field, just behind Little Dale. Glenn Jarrett, what are you hearing from down there?
Well, Eli, the points leader started off in 16th position, I believe. He's dropped 4 spots. The car's a little tight. However, he has started running a little better in the last few laps. The cars on the racetrack that I can see down here in turns 1 and 2 are very, very loose. Andy Houston has dropped all the way out of the top 15. Here's Steve.
One car on the move is Joe Bessie. He started 10th. He is now up to 6th. His crew chief, Harold Holly, told us this morning they have wrecked 4 race cars in the past 3 weeks. They've got to turn their luck around, hoping to do so here today at Hickory.
Well, hopefully things will turn around for Joe Bessie and that entire race team as we're working lap number 40. There you see the rundown across the top of the screen, so you'll know how your favorites are doing. 66, remember Elliott Sadler in a backup car. He had to start at the back of the field because he is in that backup, and now he is about to go a lap down in 26th position if Presley can bypass him. Last year's winner, Dick Trickle. We're riding with him right now. He's in 9th, buddy.
You can see right now he's teaching a lot of these young kids. Good luck trouble off turn 4.
Andy Houston. Houston, we have troubles in turn 4.
Caution is out.
It is for the first time today. Listening into Andy Houston's bunch, tell him to go on. 43.
Pull that quarter panel off that left rear. You got to take a couple rounds of bite out of it.
You can hear talking to the pit crew there. They actually analyze what they have to do to the cars when they make their stops.
Let's raise the track bar up on it there. It's from the center off is where it's bad. And pressure, put the center off.
You hear him talking about taking bite out, raising the track bar. The car is tight. It's not turning in the middle of the corner, so they're wanting to take wedge out of it, raise that roll center in the rear. That'll hopefully help the car turn in the middle of the corner.
Let's take another look, guys, and see if we saw the 56 limping around, too. Jeff Krogh. Let's see if he was involved in this altercation. There he is. Yeah. There was contact. I don't know.
There was, yeah. Andy Houston there got touched just a little bit by the 56 car there.
Although from the picture we don't know if Houston maybe was letting up after going wide and Krogh tagged him. We'll all find out together. Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
And Elliott Sadler, his crew, was really happy that caution came out. He's in the pits right now for a chassis adjustment. He's reporting the car is very, very loose. They came in to tighten it up, but that caution came out just before the leader, Robert Presley, was about to overlap him. So he went ahead and came in now. He had nothing to lose. He's the last car on the lead lap.
Now, folks, remember, as was the case here a year ago, there's an unusual pit stop strategy being used today because of the tightness of the pit road. We'll talk about those competition cautions when we come back, but there will be some mandatory stops today. We'll explain it all as we continue from the Hickory Motor Speedway. We're coming right back. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the Galaxy Foods 300 is being brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. At Napa, we keep America running. And by Super 8 Motels, over 1,600 throughout Canada and the United States. We are working the first caution flag of the afternoon. Cautions normally aplenty here at Hickory. Let's take a look at what happened again in turns 3 and 4. From an in-car look.
Well, that took all the question marks about whether there was any contact or not. Jeff Krogh got right in the back of Andy Houston, turned him around.
That was from the jack cam, if you will. Glenn, a lot of work going on down there on the Elliott Sadler car. What'd they do?
Well, Eli, when they came in, as I told you, he was reporting very, very loose. They all, in addition to putting some wedge in the car, they also jumped up under the right rear and took a rubber out of the right rear spring to soften it up, hoping the car get a little better traction. Everybody down here is reporting loose, loose, loose. Hermie Sadler's loose. Mark Green's loose. Buckshot Jones loose. Only guy that's tight is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here's Steve.
And apparently Steve Burns checking on a story down on the pit lane. We'll be getting back to him in just a moment. Before the break, we mentioned the fact that there are going to be competition cautions. The tightness of pit road is such here at Hickory that the teams are going to stop at lap 100 and at lap 200 to make mandatory stops during which they will not lose any position. There you see who's where. Are we surprised that Robert Presley has led every race so far, or every lap here so far? Not really. He's done awfully well over the years, and short track wins. He's been a specialist.
Watch this restart. Randy LaJoie would love to get back in the lead lap. He gets a good jump off the corner with Robert Presley, trying to get back in the lead lap.
Got to run off turn 2. He needs another quick caution flag because I don't know if his car is good enough right now to stay out in front of Robert Presley.
Oh, he gets a little assistance there. As you can see, Robert Presley wants that lead. He wants to be in front of this pack. Randy LaJoie wants to stay in the lead lap. Another time they make contact.
Looking good. Clear all around.
Spotted for Randy LaJoie, saying it's clear all around right now.
Randy's running smart right here right now. I don't know how long it lasts. He's not really burying the car down in the corner, but he's holding that bottom groove, and that way he's got to make Robert pass him on the outside.
The field standings today across the top of the screen being brought to you by MCI. A lot of good sideways battling on the racetrack. Steve Burns.
When Andy Houston came in, you heard Darrell Bryant over the radio communicating they wanted to make a chassis adjustment. The sheet metal damage isn't too bad, but before they could get the vent wrench out, Andy Houston took off. They don't know if the car is going to be able to handle as well as he'd like.
So that's the update from the Andy Houston pit area. Riding with him now, midway down the back straightaway. Robert Presley, the race leader, still trying to put LaJoie a lap down again.
Back corner.
You see a little bit of smoke there. He got that left front end against that bumper there. But Randy's doing everything he can to make that car as wide as he can, try to stay on this lead lap.
I can tell you one thing. Short track racing, by all imagination, is a contact sport, as you can see.
While they've been doing this, Ed Berry, he's done closed back in on him. He saw him bumping a little bit and had to back off just a little bit. Spotter just on, but driving this race car for Randy right now.
Presley.
Outside with a follower.
Presley has to go. Ed Barrier's closing in the 77, and just behind them, Mike Dillon's moved in there, the 72 in third place.
And Phil Parsons as well.
Like Randy's just about lost the battle here. He's not ready to give up. The old car just maybe it run off those cold tires for just a little bit.
Riding now with Phil Parsons. And you know,
big time wreck on the back straightaway.
Everything is blocked. Earnhardt Jr., you've got the 4 is Dennis Setzer. You've got Matt Hutter in the 36. 32 is Jason Jarrett.
Randy LaJoy still trying to get going. He knows if he can get back around, he'll stay on the lead lap here, and I believe he's going to do it.
And Andy Santerre was also in that mess.
A lot of damage to Randy's car, but he did stay on the lead lap there, so that was a good break for him, but a bad break for a lot of cars there. There you see the 17 car, a lot of damage there on the front end of him.
Matt Hutter there, the 36, first time here. There's Earnhardt Jr. There's Andy Santerre in the 47. We have had a swap in the lead. Barrier did come back to the stripe, and there's old Mike McLaughlin using up the car.
That's the good side of the car. It's torn up twice as bad on the right side as he come by the front grandstand.
This is the suspension camera underneath the Stanley Tools machine for Matt Hutter. You can just see the smoke bubbling out there, Larry. What exactly are we looking at?
We're looking at the rear suspension here. You see the rear sway bar that has Stanley wrote on it right there. And again, I think a lot of the cars maybe that's running that rear sway bar, it's kind of a culprit there because that will make a car very loose up off the corner. It'll help it turn through the center, but it definitely will make it loose off the corner. There you see he's made a stop in the pits, and they're evaluating the damage. And Steve Burns, what can you tell us about Dennis Setzer's damage?
Well, I can tell you it's in bad shape, Larry. The left front end is pushed in severely. They're pushing him into his pit stall. Remember, Dennis Setzer won here in 1994. He's filling in for the injured Jeff Purvis today. They're not moving. Crew Chief Johnny Allen looking at the team. They're not moving real fast right now, which is a bad sign. Heavy damage to Dennis Setzer. Let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
And we've moved down here into Mike McLaughlin's pitch. We're looking at the car. There's a lot of damage. They're working on the right front of the car in particular right now, and the left front. He's got oil. There's an oil line loose. There's a lot of oil off the car. Elliott Sadler comes in. There's oil everywhere on the left front tire. I don't think they're going to be able to get this car back out there, guys. There's a big mess down here. Dale Earnhardt comes in. He's got big damage to the left front. He's reporting that the car is overheating. He's afraid that he may have ruptured the radiator and it lost the water. He's knocked the toe end out on the car, so they got a lot of work to do as well. Elliott Sadler being pushed backwards and nearly collides with Tracy Leslie as he's coming by. Elliott's car is stalled. They're going to have to push it off. So, wow, wholesale damage and action down here.
You know, the big problem here when you have damage and you're on pit road, you have to maintain 30 miles an hour, and you don't have time to work on your race car. The time you're working on it, the pace car's there, and you got to get out on the racetrack again to keep them going a lap down.
Let's take a look at what happened now from a number of different angles. This is the backstretch.
This is off of turn 2, coming down the backstretch. There you see the 36 car already sideways. Mike Cope just evading damage all the way down in infield. There you see the 3 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. sideways. There you see the 4 car, Dennis Setzer.
Shane Hall, the 85, also involved.
This is riding with Matt Hutter. He gets hit from behind. You see him going around, smoke flying everywhere, being collected by other cars there. You can see the 4 there, Dennis Setzer up against the wall, Andy Santerre in the 47.
And there you see that Lance Snacks machine that is going to be going back behind the wall for repairs, if at all possible. Ed Barrier is the race leader. We're back to Hickory in a moment.
Race fans, you make the call. New LCI residential long-distance customers receive 30 minutes of free domestic calling and the World Card Plus calling card featuring participating drivers. Don't delay. Call now, 1-888-TEAM-LCI.
Hope you've had a chance already to enjoy Country.com, your personal source for all things country. From race cars to country stars, you can connect to Country.com. That's your personal source for all things country. Here's Randy LaJoie coming down pit road. You see that sheet metal extending out of the right front of his automobile? Here's how it happened.
This is over in turn 2 right here. There you see is to the inside of Ed Barrier.
Robert Presley gets in the back of the 59 car. That's when he did all the damage. You could see it pull that valance away from the front of that car.
They were taking a close look at it to see if it was going to be flapping around or what. But, Glenn, they obviously have had to pull that sheet metal off and tape it down.
Absolutely, Eli. NASCAR made them come back in. They told him if that thing was flapping when the race restarted, they were going to pull him in. And so he's had to come in and go ahead and did it under caution now. He's still on the lead lap. Dale Jr., in the meantime, I told you he had a heating problem. Once they brought him in, got all the sheet metal pulled off of it. That part of it's okay. However, the car is towed way, way out, so he's got a real problem. Here's Steve.
Glenn, our hometown heroes aren't faring too well. Andy Houston's already had a problem. Now Dennis Setzer sits inside the retaining wall on pit road. They've taken the hood off, almost all the sheet metal on the front. They're going to try and change the radiator to get him back out. And also Jason Jarrett has been on pit road repeatedly. His damage is cosmetic, but I believe he's lost a lap.
Jason Jarrett in a car that was purchased from Mike Laughlin. Brad Loney used to drive that car. And as a matter of fact, even to this moment, underneath that white skin on the machine, it has a green roll cage. They've never did change the colors from the days when Brad Loney drove it. Nope, never has a Ford won a Busch Series race here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Is today the day? Well, that'd be just fine for Ed Barrier. He's in a Taurus. We're back in a moment. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the Galaxy Foods 300 is being brought to you by the 1,900 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. And by the Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning. Welcome back, everybody. You know, we all know that Buddy Baker is independently wealthy, but even so, even Buddy would love to have the Speedy Dry concession here today. Glenn, where's all this oil coming from that they're putting Speedy Dry down for?
Well, guys, remember when I told you about Mike McLaughlin and all the oil I saw? Well, I just saw 5 empty quart bottles of oil down here in his can. That's how much oil he has dropped on the racetrack and in the pit. That's where it's all coming from. They're still working over here off of turn 2 where Mike got in that wreck, so it burst an oil line or a cooler or something, but it's a big, big mess down here. Most of the guys are cleaning up the mess that's made right now, not even worried about their cars. Steve?
Well, Glenn, Matt Kenseth, who won earlier this year at Rockingham, is in 10th position right now, but they're reporting some trouble in the gearbox. Kenseth does not know if the car is stuck in 3rd or 4th gear. They might have to bring him in, and that would be a tough blow to lose that much track position.
Matt Kenseth, our winner at Rockingham earlier this year. While we are under caution, how about a history lesson about the Hickory Motor Speedway? Brought to you by Glenn Jarrett and by AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts.
At .363 miles, Hickory Speedway may be the shortest racetrack the NASCAR Busch Series visits each year, but it is by far the longest on history and tradition. This speedway was first opened in 1951 as a dirt track. It ran that way continuously until 1967 when it was paved for the very first time. Amazingly enough, that paving job lasted 25 years when the track was resurfaced the first time in the early 1990s. Now, new track owner John Huffman tells us that he will once again resurface the track at the end of the 1998 season. A lot of other changes are in store for Hickory Speedway as well. All new grandstands, new bleachers, an additional 5,000 seats will be added, as well as more and newer VIP booths. The list of drivers and other people that got their start at Hickory Speedway is mighty impressive as well. Take a look at this list. Names like Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, Morgan Shepherd, Bobby Isaac, Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jason Jarrett. The list goes on and on and on. Not only drivers, but crew chiefs and NASCAR technical inspectors as well. I tell you, it is mighty impressive. It's no wonder that the history and tradition here at Hickory Speedway is so rich. And I believe that with the young guys coming out of this place right now, it will continue on in past the year 2000, maybe even in 2051. Be neat to celebrate a 100-year anniversary at Hickory Speedway, won't it?
It really would be awfully neat to see that happen. There you see how the point leaders are doing. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 25th. Elliott Sadler, 27th. Mike McLaughlin in 29th. And Glenn, before we go back to you, you were talking about history. I want to take a second here on behalf of the entire TNN Motorsports family, and certainly the NASCAR family as well, to extend our condolences to the family of Mary Fendrick Holman, who passed away yesterday. She was the widow of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway owner Tony Holman, the grandmother of Tony George, who now heads the track and, of course, the Indy Racing League. And it doesn't matter whether you're NASCAR, IRL, what have you. Everybody respects the founding fathers and families of racing. And Mary Fendrick Holman passing away yesterday is a major loss to all of us in motorsports. We offer our condolences. One lap to go. Back to green. Glenn Jarrett.
Well, guys, the points battle is going to take a big shakeup here. We've already told you about the problems that Dale Earnhardt Jr., the points leader, had. His car's got major toe-out problems. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler has a missing problem. He's got an engine problem. He's got a bad miss in the engine. They can't find it. Mike McLaughlin in third. He's been crashed big time. We're going to see a big shakeup in the points when we finally get away from this place here today.
No doubt about that. And how about a shakeup in overall stats? Ed Berrier is leading today's race. Took over the lead from Robert Presley at lap 60. Ed Berrier last led on August 31st of 1990 at the Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. August 31, 1990, last time Ed Berrier led a race. They've put the lights back on atop the safety car, so we're going to stay under caution. Still some cleanup after all that oil that was put down by Mike McLaughlin's car. Let's go to Steve Burns.
And we just walked into the crew chief position here. Dean Johnson, who's with Mike Dillon. Boy, you guys are having a great run. Did you make any adjustments today?
No, we left the car like it was when we actually tested here the other day. It was real cloudy yesterday, and wanted to leave it for the sunshine deal.
What is Mike saying about the way the car's handling?
Yeah, he says we're pretty good right now. We're just trying to be patient and have something left for that last 50 laps.
All right, thanks, Dean.
So that's the update on pit road. The field will again get the one-to-go signal. Hey, speaking of crew chiefs, one thing we've not yet mentioned, there has been a change in crew chiefs around the NASCAR Busch Series. Donnie Richardson is here. He's now the new crew chief for Mike Cope and the Slim Jim team. We also mentioned earlier that this is the final race for Butch Enders as the crew chief for Tim Fedewa and the Kleenex team. He'll be moving on to other opportunities after this day is done.
Eli, I want to point out there is a tremendous amount of oil dry on the inside of this racetrack. And believe you me, until they blow that off, it's as slick as the oil is taken off the racetrack.
There's
Hurricane
and Mike Dillon side by side. Phil Parsons also out there riding around. Getting set to go back to green.
All those cars on the inside are a lap down as they take off.
Barry really brought him down to a slow restart there, and he makes the lead back going into turn one right there. You see all the dust from that oil dry. That just shows you how much they actually put down on this racetrack, that last caution.
Phil Parsons watching from fourth. To the outside of the 80 of Mark Crowe, and now has clear sailing to chase down those three guys. That's Dick Trickle's view from the bumper cam. He has the 7th place runner directly ahead of him, Glenn Allen Jr., the Luxair car. And you can see that speedy drive that is now adhering to that bumper camera.
You can see him when they get back in the throttle. Very, very easy getting off the corner right now. Trying to hold the back of the car under him.
Yeah, the big scramble back at 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th spot, plus a number of lapped cars. The 66 and the 3 in particular getting caught up in that accident of earlier.
See Matt Kenseth there on the bumper cam. You can see the front of his car closing right in the back of Trickle's car. You can see there's about a 3-inch travel as they go in the corner there. You can see the right front dip down about 3 inches as they head in the corner.
They really run these cars as soft as they can here at Hickory, in the front and the rear. And you know, the softer you can run it as far as springs, you know, the more it's going to grip the racetrack. Glenn, we hear that Robert Presley's smoking. What can you tell us?
What I'm seeing right now is when he comes into turns 1 and 2 from my vantage point here. A lot of smoke rolling up. Looks like coming off the right rear of the car. And it may be from some of that sheet metal damage he suffered when Randy LaJoie got into him. But he's definitely got a problem of some kind. We're going to keep an eye on it. He's way up the other end of pit road, so maybe Steve can check with him and find out exactly what that is.
And they're also showing the black flag to the Tracy Leslie car, number 63. He's got water coming out of the right side. It looks as though it's coming through the headers as everybody tries to pick their way around him as they slow. Andy Houston goes wide, too.
He went up against the wall on the back straightaway, left a big black mark all the way down the back straightaway.
You were listening
last to the halfway break
to Andy Houston.
Tracy Leslie's on pit road. You heard the spotter tell him right there was 10 laps. He was saying to the halfway, but actually it's to the first competition yellow, which is what these cars are looking for, lap 100, to be able to change those tires.
Let's take a look at Andy Houston, see what happened to him on the back straightaway. He's on the outside of 10 feet a while. Right there, he hits the wall very hard. Down into turn 3, he gets the car back under control. Now he realizes everything's rubbing. He has to get into the pits.
But you know what happened there? There was 3 wide, and that won't work on the back stretch at Hickory, will it, off turn 2?
There's second and third spot now. Mike Dillon and Robert Presley. All of this behind Ed Berrier by 0.8 of a second.
Oh, he gets Dillon sideways.
And Presley. And Dillon saves it all, and Presley gets
hit. They just keep stacking up.
Tony Stewart spins up to the outside wall of the 44. Caution, lap number 94.
Mark Krogh is involved. The 80 car is smoking. You can see the radiators broke on it.
I'll tell you, Dillon did himself a great job in saving that automobile. And look at Krogh's car. Glenn, what'd you see? You're down there near turn 1.
Oh, Eli, when you guys yelled, I looked up, and both of them came into turn 1. Both Dillon and Presley were sideways. Presley went on around. Mike Dillon made one of the greatest saves I have ever seen in my racing life. That car was completely sideways, heading toward the Winston Racing Series sign on the wall, and somehow he kept it out of it. I'll tell you what, he's got my vote for the best move of maybe the year so far. What a great save.
But terrible luck for Phil Parsons. You can see from the in-car camera and from this camera angle, he has tremendous damage to that car, being in the wrong place at the right time.
Doesn't matter what camera you use to look at old Phil there. He's got himself major problems. Here it is again. Let's take a look at what happened as they went off towards turn 1. Again, 72, Mike Dillon, 59, Robert Presley.
Front straightaway, 72 there. Mike Dillon gets touched by the 59, Robert Presley. That spins both cars out of control. Dillon makes a great save. Robert Presley goes around, and behind him you can see people just stacking up. There's Phil Parsons.
Oh, that's
Mark
what happened
Krogh.
to Phil. 52, humping on the brakes there. Kevin Grubb did a good job there. And Phil Parsons, he was running in 4th. There's the 6 of Joe Bessie. He was involved.
Dillon comes down. Presley gets into the left rear. That's never going to change. You can show 500 times. That's contact getting in the corner.
Look at that. Bessie goes through.
Oh, Bessie goes right in the back.
Can't find an opening. Watch Jason Jarrett there down low, the white car. Just takes to the apron of the racetrack, and he scoots through. Tony Stewart's up there by the wall, the 44. And now from Dick Trickle's bumper cam, let's take a look. Or at least from Phil's bumper cam. That's Phil Parsons.
Phil getting it in the front and the rear. A lot of damage to that automobile.
Shoo-wee.
Tough how that happens. Some years guys miss all those accidents. Some years they get into those accidents. It just happens. Caution for the 3rd time today. We're at lap 96 here on TNN Motorsports.
Radio communications are provided by Racing Radios. For all your business and racing communications needs, as well as scanners and frequency lists, call on Racing Radios at 1-800-669-1522.
Welcome back. We are remaining under caution. We are going to be opening the pit road the next time by at lap 100 for the competition yellow. Because of the tightness of pit road, as we told you, everybody will be able to pit at lap number 100. The way they're running right now, you've got Ed Berry, you see, showing the way. And those are the fellows who have managed to avoid the problems. One gentleman who's always managed to avoid the problems here was a longtime NASCAR champion and a track champion here at Hickory a couple of years Jack Ingram, the Iron Man, is with us. Jack, good to see you, and congratulations on being picked the Grand Marshal today.
Thank you very much.
You kind of miss being out there, don't you?
Well, certainly at Hickory Speedway.
I bet you do.
I'm glad to see Jack has a face.
Here.
I always looked at the back of his helmet.
I hear you. Let's watch these pit stops. We'll talk to Jack again in a second. Ed Barrier is in. Robert Presley. Let's go to the pit lane.
And Robert Presley, heavy damage on all four corners of the 59 car. Sheet metal is rubbing on the left rear. We're taking a look at that. They're trying to pull that off.
Meanwhile,
all the crews going to work. Now remember, folks, you're not going to lose a position here. You come in, you take your service, you get back on the racetrack. We lost Steve Burns' mic there, if you're curious where he disappeared to. He dropped off into the hinterlands there for a moment. But look at all this work, Larry Mack.
Yeah, and again, I want to explain this competition caution here at lap 100. It's going to be for 5 laps. You don't lose a position. You can sit in the pits. You can change your tires. You can make your adjustments. You know, but you don't have to worry about doing it in a hurry. And this is a good rule. 2 years ago, we saw pit stops here in the caution, and the biggest problem was some of the tire changers run out of air hose because they couldn't reach their car because they was 3 deep out on pit road. Steve, give us an update from down there.
Well, now that the microphone's back and working, Robert Presley, as we said, heavy sheet metal damage, and Joe Bessie, the right front, is pushed in. As we said earlier, they've wrecked 4 race cars in the past 3 weeks. They've got the Sawzall out trying to cut the sheet metal off. Let's check in now with Glenn Jarrett.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I'm down here on the low end with Randy LaJoie, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Elliott Sadler just left, Mike McLaughlin. All these cars that have been involved in these crashes. I'm going to tell you something. I used to be in the car business. If they'd have brought these cars on my lot, I wouldn't have traded for them. They look a mess down here. But Earnhardt Jr. is making a panhard bar adjustment. They checked the right front. The spring rubber was gone out of it, so they're having to replace that. Panhard adjustment for Randy LaJoie as well. They did find the problem with Elliott Sadler on the miss. It was an ignition problem. They switched boxes, so he's okay. He's down and away. Mike McLaughlin, well, they put more oil in it. He seems to be okay now. They stopped the flow. So a lot of work, a lot of stuff for the guys to do down here. Biggest thing they're trying to do is just get these cars through the end of this race, Eli.
And they're all thankful they're not out there battling Jack Ingram because, you know, Jack could be out there winning this thing. Jack, what are you doing now? What are you involved in?
I got a couple of NASCAR Winston Racing Series late model stocks. Bo Hunter drives one of them. We're starting a new guy off. He's 16 years old in a couple of weeks. Bo won a big race at Greenville last week, 150 laps, his first big race. And we're excited about that. And, of course, we come over here to be the Grand Marshal, and, of course, we left to come to Hickory Speedway. Buddy Baker's talking about looking at the back. I come over here one time to watch a race. He's driving for Harry Hyde. And they said Buddy Baker couldn't drive on short race tracks. He showed them all the way here that time in a Winston Cup race, then called Grand National. And I had a high opinion of Buddy's driving after that. I saw him win on super speedways, but he showed them the way here that night.
Jack Ingram, always a pleasure. Take care. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Jack Ingram, the Iron Man of stock car racing. He's our Grand Marshal here at Hickory. Ed Barrier is the leader. We're coming right back. Back in 1990, the NASCAR Busch Series headed north to christen a new track. Since then, the New Hampshire International Speedway has seen some great finishes, like last year's last lap battle to the line between Steve Park and winner Mike McLaughlin. TNN takes you back to the Loudon track Saturday, May 9th, the Come Out 200 at 1:30 Eastern. Hope you can make your plans to join us at New Hampshire. The lights have come back on atop the safety car again. Not quite set to go back to green, but we do have time to check in with Steve Burns.
And with Steve Plattenberger, Robert Presley's crew chief, we saw lots of damage. How bad are you?
I can't understand what you're saying.
Saw lots of damage. How bad are you?
Not bad. It's mostly sheet metal knocked the left front end and knocked the crush panels out, but we taped it all up and said it'll be fine. We'll try to get the next 100, see what we got then.
Of course, Robert Presley finishing a career best 3rd in Texas this past Sunday in the NASCAR Winston Cup race as the Jasper team did themselves awfully proud.
Now, Eli, we've seen all these cars with a lot of sheet metal damage, and you know, as long as you can get it cut away from the tires, aerodynamics on the sheet metal, it's not a big issue here. The biggest thing you see with these cars that's got the front end caved in is making sure that their radiator's still good and clear, because as warm as it is here, as much traffic as you have at Hickory, sometimes overheating becomes an issue when the front end's caved in.
That's Larry McReynolds, crew chief for Dale Earnhardt on the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Of course, you can keep up with Dale and Larry and everybody else in the world of NASCAR at that computer address, www.nascar.com. It is NASCAR Online, your 24-hour NASCAR Garage Pass. And I'm telling you, folks, even everybody in the business, when you're at the hotel or what have you, you log on to see what's the latest doings in the world of NASCAR. So check it out as well, NASCAR Online.
Speaking of logging it on, these guys are fixing to get it on again as they come down to get the green flag. You can see them going into turn 3, entering turn 4 any moment now.
The master of the Segway.
You notice this restart here was a single file restart after the competition yellow, so they don't have any lap cars to deal with. There you see Robert Presley going right to work on Mike Dillon right from the beginning here.
That is for second spot. The leader is Ed Berrier, who, as we told you earlier, hasn't led since August of 1990 at the Orange County Speedway. Robert Presley having to deal with and Mike Dillon now, Glenn.
Well, basically, Eli, the same thing he was dealing with before the caution, except they all got fresh tires on. Dillon's crew told me they did not change a thing except the 4 tires, gave him a pat on the back, congratulated him on that great save, and sent him back out. No changes at all. You know, one comment I got to make, this is a 300-lap race. Look at what we've dealt with in the first 100 laps. Will there be any cars left? Here's Steve.
We talked about his misfortunes. They continue here at Hickory. He's on pit road. We're going to have to replace the radiator on the 6th car of Joe Bessie.
Meanwhile, Mike McLaughlin is out there while we watch this battle for the lead. McLaughlin dragging some sheet metal out there, and he's going to be coming back onto the pit lane to get rid of that sheet metal.
Eli, one of the incredible things is Robert Presley spun completely around and did not get hit by any cars except just a glancing blow. Normally, when you create the problem that he did by making contact there on Dillon, you would expect him to really get beat up.
You know, Eli, buddy, if I'm a crew chief right now for Ed Berrier or Mike Dillon or Robert Presley, I believe what I do is like, look, guys, we got a good race car here. We know at lap 200 we're going to be back in here for final adjustments and 4 fresh tires. Let's just try to watch these laps wind down. Be patient with lap traffic, because that's going to be happening here shortly. And let's try to be around for that last 100 laps.
And I tell you, I can't hear you.
Oh, you cut the radio off, wouldn't you, buddy? It's like reading the gauges, right?
You got it.
Oh, I love it. The leader, Ed Berrier in the 77. That's Mike Dillon in the 72. Right behind them, you've got Robert Presley. There you've got Tim Fedewa, the 33, going around Jason Jarrett. Just now back to green here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Lap 172 on the board. We are 28 away from the next mandated NASCAR caution period. And Randall Welcome back, everybody. We are with you live at lap number 200 here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Eli Gold and Buddy Baker joining you now from the Starcatcher. This is TNN's satellite uplink truck, which is one of the only vehicles here at the Speedway that has power in it right now. There has been a major power outage that services the entire broadcast area and the downstairs section, if you will, of the Hickory Motor Speedway, and that's why we left you before and have now just been able to get a picture up. We've got one cameraman, Wayne Womack, who's manning the single camera that we do have functional right now, and you see the race leader. That is Ed Berrier, the number 77 machine. He took the race lead a short while ago. Why don't we recap for you right now what you have missed? These are the pit stops taking place at the second competition caution. We left you somewhere around the halfway portion of the event. Ed Berrier had given the lead over to Mike Dillon, and Dillon held the lead until just a few laps ago when it was reassumed by Ed Berrier. We had a very brief caution for a spin. Jason Jarrett spun, brought out a caution, and Elton Sawyer, just prior to this break here at lap number 200, had a continuation of an ongoing smoking problem. He went down the pit lane at the same time that they brought out this competition caution at lap number 200. So again, we have just this one camera, so we apologize for that, but at least we've got a picture coming your way from Hickory as Larry McReynolds is still upstairs in the booth, but Buddy and I, along with our producer and director, if you hear a voice or two in the background, we've got Gary Clem directing the camera up on the roof through a two-way radio. Our producer, Pam Miller, is on the telephone back to master control, and Buddy Baker, like normal, you and I are sitting here knee to knee.
Watching Ed Berrier go back on the racetrack, you cannot advance by having a quick pit stop. Wherever they make a stop here, they'll file back as they were running before the caution come out for this mandatory stop. So you could see Ed Berrier having to back up and mess around in the pits. That did not hurt him at all.
We still, of course, do not have power to the entire broadcast complex, and that's why you won't right now be hearing from Glenn Jarrett or Steve Burns. Again, we stress we're in the satellite truck, and this is the one vehicle that does have a power generator. Let's give you a full rundown. This is compliments of Nelson Crozier from Nelson Specialties, who always assists us on the road here. The race leader is Ed Berrier in the number 77. The 72 machine, Mike Dillon, runs second. Robert Presley is third. Glenn Allen fourth. And fifth right now is Mike Cope. Being shown in sixth is Kevin Grubb, a super run for him. In seventh position, they're posting Hermie Sadler. Eighth is Tony Stewart. Ninth is Tim Fedowa. And in 10th position, they are showing unofficially the 89 of Kevin Sawinski, although he was on the pit lane earlier, so we'll have to double check that. Of course, part and parcel to all of that's gone on here is that the scoring computers are not working at the moment, so we'll double check some of those numbers, but certainly the top 9 we just gave you through Tim Fedowa are accurate rundown spots. This caution continues. We are going to come back to the friendly confines of the Starcatcher. That's TNN's uplink truck here at Hickory Motor Speedway. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are live at Hickory Motor Speedway. Again, if you're just tuning in, the race, the Galaxy Foods 300, now at lap 202. We have only one camera working because of a major power failure here that has really knocked out every one of our broadcast trucks, with the exception of the satellite uplink, in which Buddy Baker and I are now sitting, along with our producer, director, and audio person, and assistant Nelson Crozier. We'll give you a rundown in just a moment, but on the restart, 77 is Ed Berrier, 72, as he has been running all day long, Mike Dillon, a solid run, and still Robert Presley, still smoking there, Buddy, as he was when we left the folks about a half hour or 40 minutes ago.
He has a problem with the left front fender on this car. Going down into turn 1, it smokes right there. You can see just a little bit of smoke coming off Presley. Does not seem to hurt the performance of the car, though, as he moves in on Mike Dillon.
Now, behind these front 3, we'll have Wayne Womack, our cameraman, up there. You see, these other machines are all a lap down. Then the black car there going into turn 1, the Luxair car for Glenn Allen Jr., he was running in the 4th position, but slides a little bit further to the back. So there you see the field. And again, we stress this is an unusual circumstance with only one camera working, and we do want to applaud the work of our technical crew to get this one camera back online and at least give you some semblance of pictures from here at Hickory.
The 74 there, that's Randy LaJoy. He was involved in an accident earlier in the race. Had a lot of front end damage, had to make multi-stops.
Problems in turn number 1. As up into the wall goes the 50 of Andy Houston. Andy Houston, who is subbing for Jimmy Foster, will bring out caution, one assumes, at lap number 207, as Houston got together with Dick Trickle up there in the corner. And we are under caution. Also involved on the scene was Jason Keller. So Houston, along with Trickle and Keller, involved in that spin that brings out the caution for the 7th time today. Again, we are with you at Hickory Motor Speedway. A bit of an unusual circumstance due to a power failure, but we muddle along. Stick with us. We're coming right back. We are back with you at Hickory Motor Speedway. Eli Gold and Buddy Baker. Larry McReynolds is still with us, but he's up in the booth where there is no power and there just wasn't any room for him here in the satellite truck. Glenn Jarrett and Steve Burns are on pit road, but again, without the power, we can't communicate with them, so you're just stuck with me and Buddy for the next 87 laps.
Stuck we are. You can see right now they're coming down for the green. All the cars on the inside lane there are at least one lap down.
Again, we are bringing you the coverage here at lap 214 of 300. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 3, trying to get back one of the laps he was down. Ed Berrier, the 77, has never won a NASCAR Busch Series race.
Earnhardt fighting hard there in the 3 cars. They head off turn 2 and down the back straightaway. He is right now making that lap up. You see him moving a little bit wide there. Ed Berrier fighting back as they head down off turn 4.
You might have just seen Jeff Krogh making the move down pit road, a stop-and-go penalty for him for jumping the restart. And we want to thank Nelson Crozier, who is listening into the NASCAR radio and feeding us the information here in the TNN Uplink truck.
See Mike Dillon there making a move on Ed Berrier coming off turn 2 as they head down the back straightaway, and Robert Presley in the 59 running in 3rd as they head down into turn 3. And on the outside there, Kevin Grubb is really doing a great job today.
Now Dale Earnhardt Jr. is on the tail end of the lead lap. He had made up a lap earlier, now made up that one. And look at Robert Presley, 4th car on the screen there, still smoking. That 59 number, the red, white, and blue car. That is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The 77 Berrier, 72 Dillon, and Presley still smoking.
Smoking and trucking down into turn 3. He's doing a great job. Apparently, whatever it is just sheet metal rubbing on a tire. Does not hurt the performance of the car whatsoever.
Until the sheet metal rubs through the Goodyear.
Let's don't talk about that. No. Hopefully, it won't do it in the few laps that we have left in this race.
Again, not to belabor the point, but if you're just tuning in and wondering what's going on, we've had a power failure here at the Hickory Motor Speedway, and as a result, we are working, Buddy Baker and I, here in the satellite truck, the Starcatcher Uplink. We have just one camera available, which Wayne Womack is manning atop the grandstand, and everybody else huddled here inside the satellite truck, trying to bring you what picture we can of the finish here at Hickory. Again, Berrier, 77. Dillon 72, Presley with 13 cars still on the lead lap, the last one being Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 3 car in 13th.
Right now, he would love to see a caution come out and put him at the tail end of the lead lap here. He would get to make up a lot of track position. You see right now his car is just as fast as the lead group, but he was involved in an early wreck. There's a caution.
And caution is on the speedway. You see the scoreboard there, so we're at lap 224. We're learning this as you are. Lap 224 for caution. It'll be for the 8th time here today. First caution came out when Andy Houston spun at lap number 43. And this caution is for debris on the racetrack, we are being told, and a spin up in the corner at lap 224. So the race leader is Ed Berrier in the 77. Mike Dillon is next in the 72. The 59, Robert Presley. And a super run for young Kevin Grubb, the young late model stock car driver from Southside Speedway in Richmond and the South Boston Speedway in Virginia. Super performance today.
That racetrack's really brought out some great drivers. Both Elliott and Hermie Sadler run at South Boston, and these guys are for real. I mean, Kevin Grubb has run a flawless race today. He was in a little bang up in one of the wrecks, but he didn't cause it. Running the top 5 all day long.
So the caution here at lap 224. Beautiful day here in Hickory. And don't know exactly, we're just talking amongst ourselves here as to what did happen with the power failure that knocked us off the air. Obviously a problem with power being fed to the track and the broadcast compound areas. Our comrades over on radio, MRN radio, also went off the air for a lengthy stretch and have just gotten back up as well. So one of those days, but we're certainly glad you've been able and patient enough to stay with us, and hope you enjoyed NASCAR Garage that came your way during our problems here at Hickory. Getting set to go, 1 to go this time by. The lights should come off atop the safety car as they get to the start-finish line. Old Randy LaJoie, if you're just joining us, went a lap down early, and still, buddy, has not led a lap all season long in that number 74 FINA machine.
I'm telling you, if you threw a handful of rocks up in the air, he'd run through them this year. He's had a tough time. You see him there on the inside. Last year he was champion, the year before champion. This year, nothing but hard luck.
Other than the power going out, any surprises from your standpoint today, buddy?
Well, I think the surprise right now is leading the race, Ed Barrier. Everybody said, well, maybe, he ran very well in qualifying. We expect him to drop back maybe. Hey, he's for real. He's running a great race today. I know his father has to be proud of him. He, too, was a race driver.
Yeah, Max Barrier fielded the very first Busch car that Ed drove back in 1984. Back on the tail end of the lead lap now. Randy LaJoie just got by on the restart. He's in 14th position now. The 74 Randy LaJoie is back on the lead lap in 14th.
A lot of scrambling back in this group right here. Several cars running side by side. Now back to the leader. Randy LaJoie's car has been fast, but he runs for about 10 laps, and he seems to go away just a little bit. And the lead cars actually make a pass on him. You can see Ed Barry getting very, very anxious to get by him and put a little distance between the second place car of Mike Dillon.
You know, buddy, as we were talking on the opening of the telecast today, thus far this year, this is the 8th race of the year. We've had 7 different winners in the 7 previous races. If this holds up, we'll go 8 for 8 now, because Barrier's not won ever in the NASCAR Busch Series.
You can see Barrier taking an inside look, and you're exactly correct. Eli, every driver in this field has had numerous races on this type of racetrack as they started out in racing. So you wouldn't say anybody had an advantage, but you can see right there, Ed Barrier makes contact to Randy LaJoie.
And around goes LaJoie. Oh, hard hit. Grubb tried to sneak through, and now the front straightaway finds itself all stacked up. Needless to say, caution is on the speedway for the 9th time as Randy LaJoie went around. We're not quite sure of the lap because the scoreboard is behind that big smoke that you saw over there in the corner. And again, we're in the satellite truck because of the power outage. So we'll have Wayne Womack, our cameraman, show us lap 235. Caution for the 9th time, lap 235. We're going to break away and come right back. We are live with you at Hickory Motor Speedway. A little bit under power, but nevertheless, a darn good race. We're coming right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Hickory Motor Speedway. A very unusual day and a further unusual situation. Let's again mention that we're out without any power except here in the satellite truck where Buddy and I are working right now with our crew. We only have this one camera, which is pushed in as tight as it will go. There's been an accident on the extension of pit road. Pit road extends around. You see where that ambulance is. After Randy LaJoie and Kevin Grubb had their problems on the racetrack, Grubb apparently came down pit road, and from what we are told, his brakes locked up, and he crashed into one of the toolboxes down there, and Todd Wilkerson, who was a crew member, fell off the toolbox and hurt his wrist and his arm, and as a result, NASCAR has thrown the red flag because what, again, we can't show you because we only have this one camera. The exit to pit road has now been blocked by the safety vehicles and so on. Todd Wilkerson, who works for the 37 team of Mark Green, was apparently the injured crew member, and this, regretfully, is the only picture we can give you. Again, we don't have Glenn or Steve Burns, Glenn Jarrett or Burns, because of the power failure here, and this is the only camera we've got that is up and running. And that is as far as Wayne Womack, our cameraman, can zoom in. So the red flag is on the track right now. And what you are seeing at home is exactly what we have. Nelson Crozier, who is assisting us here in the truck, has tuned in to our brethren on the radio side, MRN Radio, and is monitoring their broadcast. They, too, have just come back up on the air a short while ago. And Nelson is relaying to me what MRN is putting out to their radio audience, and together we will try and fill you guys in. But again, the red flag is out as a follow-up to the caution at lap 235 when apparently Kevin Grubb had a brake problem, and as he came down pit road, we are being told that he apparently ran into the toolbox upon which Todd Wilkerson was sitting. Todd fell off and has injured his left wrist, but the ambulances to check on Todd have blocked the exit to pit road. So everybody has come to a stop. We are also being told that Mike Cope has a flat tire, buddy, in the midst of all this. So I don't know, is it a full moon? Are we due for a full moon here today? What a bizarre, bizarre afternoon.
Eli, what's happening right now is mainly, drivers making bad errors as far as thinking they have the car in front of them cleared and they make contact. And on this racetrack, if you make any contact coming out of the corner, the guy on the outside has absolutely no control of the car.
And again, there you see the view of the Hickory Speedway with the only camera that we have that's working. Again, the power is still out, except for the generator that is driving this uplink truck and the one series of pictures that we're getting. We're trying to get some messages. You can speak up, Pam. We're among family here. Pam Miller, our producer, is here coordinating things with Nashville as well. And right now we are going to take a look, I'm told, at an interview that Buddy Baker conducted the other day with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as they look back on his win at Texas.
Texas had to be just so wonderful. I mean, your first big win. And you moved there on the last lap on Joe Nemechek. That had to mean so much to you.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I'd never had an idea that I was going to get that good of a run on him off of 4. We had been getting off the corners good all day long, and it didn't seem like he got into 3 as good, and that kind of held him up off of 4. And when I seen that run coming up on him, I knew we was going to get ready to, be racing side by side pretty soon.
You said after the race that your father was on the radio with you and made you a little nervous. What did he say?
We had one caution there with about 6 laps to go that set the whole deal up, and we were racing back to the flag, and Mark Martin had a little damage, and me and Joe Nemechek, we were all in there racing together, and I felt it better just to hold back and try to race Joe when we got the next chance. And Dad was hollering, race 87 back to the caution flag. And things just get real hairy. He's excited, I'm excited, the crew's excited. We knew we had a chance to win, and he just wants us to win so badly.
With this added success, is the pressure getting a little more intense on you?
Well, not necessarily. There are a lot more people tugging on you one way or another, wanting your attention, but that goes with the territory. I grew up watching my father go through the same situations. So this is just our first win. It's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah, everybody knows Dale Earnhardt, and they're learning very quickly about Dale Earnhardt Jr. What would you say you inherited from your father as far as your driving style?
Well, one thing that I've realized from looking from the inside out is not really boasting, but his ability to come from far back in the fields, his patience, but yet how quick he can pass cars and get back up into the top 10 or the top 5. It seems like it takes a lot of race car to do that too, but it takes a driver to be able to utilize that race car and be able to use it. And it seems like everywhere we've been, had a setback in the pits or whatever it may be at each racetrack, we've been able to climb back toward the front.
I'm sure when you walk into a place, you don't always say, I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you when you went in and said, I'm Dale Earnhardt?
I don't know. A lot of strange things have happened to me over the past few years. A lot of people don't believe it firsthand, but now that we're on TV more, now that we're more available to the public, and people have seen me a lot more, they do tend to recognize me a little easier. A lot of times I end up having to whoop out the driver's license or something like that before they leave, but here lately it's been pretty easy.
And we enjoyed learning about Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think one of the best things, too, is the fact that he has not changed from the days that I first knew him. When you first knew him, success does not seem to have gone to his head, buddy.
Eli, totally unspoiled, a great young man. And the one thing I noticed the most about him, he worked on his own race cars. He respects how much the guys have to put into making that race car competitive. Not only that, hey, Dale Earnhardt himself said this win was almost as important to him as winning Daytona. He said it just made him feel so proud of Dale Jr. And, you know, the kid is just perfect for this sport. He's going to add to the history of the sport and make it much richer.
As you can see, we are under a red flag here at Hickory for an accident that took place on pit road. We'll update again all that's gone on when we come back on TNN Motorsports. Welcome back, everybody. We are live at the Hickory Motor Speedway, where this race is under a red flag condition after an accident that injured a crewman on pit road. Todd Wilkerson, I am told, has been taken to the hospital with an injured left wrist. Cars, as you see, have now refired and are beginning to roll. On top of all of that, in case you're just tuning in, we'll mention again that we've been hit with a power failure here at the track. And not a problem that I know of its origin, but nevertheless, we have no power except here in our little uplink truck, the Starcatcher. So Buddy and I and our producer and director, I didn't mean a little uplink truck, it's a nice uplink truck, but it's so cozy with 1, 2,
Everybody's
3, 4,
having
5,
a great
6.
time in here.
It's kind of cozy with 6 guys and ladies in here, and we are working with just one camera. And that is the picture that we'll be seeing for, I assume, the remainder of the race. We are at roughly lap 235 or so, and I say roughly because the computers are also down. We'll get our camera maven, Wayne Womack, when he'll take a shot of the scoreboard for us all, and we'll give you a rundown. And Glenn Jarrett, I am told, is now hearing us through the modern wonders of technology. Glenn, what you got from pit road?
Eli, what happened was I can update you on the injury to Todd Wilkerson. He is okay. He injured his left wrist. They have taken him up to Catawba Memorial Hospital, but fortunately, he walked in the ambulance under his own power. What happened was with Kevin Grubb, Randy LaJoie spun down the straightaway, and he righted it right in front of Kevin Grubb. Kevin ran into him, jammed the left front tire up against the firewall. When he hit the brakes, it pumped all the brake fluid out of it, ruptured all the lines, and the car turned perfectly down at the end of pit road and right in to Mark Green's pit. And Todd Wilkerson is the team manager. He was sitting up on the war wagon, and he saw the car coming at him. Fortunately, nobody else was involved. As Todd leapt to safety, when he landed, he hurt his wrist. So I tell you, it was a very scary moment down here. But as I said, no one else was injured. It's amazing that there weren't. But all the guys were paying attention. They saw the car coming, and they got out of the way. So, fortunately, that's the only injury that we have to report. And, again, Todd walked in the ambulance under his own power, and no assistance necessary. He was just holding his left wrist. So, very fortunate that he was not injured. Very unfortunate accident. Kevin Grubb had a great run going, but it's over now.
Let's quickly go to Steve Burns. Steve?
Yeah, guys, forgive me if I'm being redundant, but we haven't been able to hear down here as well. But we talked to the two leading crew chiefs of the two leading cars on lap 200 when they made their pit stops under competition caution. Just to update you, the 77 of Ed Barrier, they made an air pressure adjustment. No adjustments on the 72, and we're going green.
Going green after a red flag of 10 minutes and 22 seconds. They are working on Randy LaJoie's car. And now, remember, the 77 is Ed Barrier. The 00, Buckshot Jones, not on the lead lap. He is trying to get a lap back. The 72 of Mike Dillon is running second, Buddy Baker.
Absolutely, and you can see a lot of dust coming up there. That's from oil dry that they put on the racetrack to absorb the oil. Buckshot, it looks like he's dropping back just a little bit. Ed Barrier's on a mission today.
Dick Trickle, a stop-and-go penalty. He is back on the pit lane. He'll be returning to the race here in just moments. So you see the Schneider trucking car going around towards the exit of the pit lane.
And the 59 there, that's Robert Presley, putting out smoke in every corner, but it seems not to hurt the performance of his car. You see it light up with smoke right there as he gets down in the corner, and as he rockets off the corner there, the car's got good acceleration, so whatever it is sheet metal rubbing.
We're at lap 243. There you see second and third spot, Dillon and Robert Presley. The 77, that's Ed Barrier, showing the way. The only other time before today that Ed Barrier has led a race was back in 1990 at Orange County Speedway when he led from the pole. He won the Bud pole, or as they called it, the Busch pole in those days, and he led in that event. He hasn't led since, but right now he's going to be awfully tough to deal with, buddy.
He is that, and you can see Robert Presley. The smoke is getting a little more pronounced in the corners. The car won't stay on the bottom part of the racetrack, and the second car behind him there is Tim Fedewa, who is the next position car. He's trying to get by Buckshot Jones there to make a move up on Robert Presley.
We're closing in on just 50 laps remaining. Again, we have just this one camera available because of the power failure here at the Speedway. And we'll pan back towards the left and pick up the leaders right there. Ed Barrier is showing the way in car 77.
Mike Dillon in second in the 72 car. He has really run a great race today. Max Barrier shows a lot of good experience on this type of racetrack, though. Runs the line very well through the corner.
Right, Ed Barrier. His dad, Max Barrier, having fielded the cars for him. We're at lap 250 right now. 50 laps remaining on a beautiful day here in Hickory. If you're just joining us, we have had 9 caution flags, which ties the record for the most cautions in a race this season. We have also had the 1 red flag moments ago to make sure that Todd Wilkerson, who hurt his left wrist, a crewman, was able to go out to the area hospital and get tended to.
First and second's kind of stabilized. You can see them there. It's about a 15 car length lead. Ed Barrier comes off the corner very straight. You can see Mike Dillon getting down in the corner, not overrunning, but the battle is for third and fourth right now.
And folks, you can also, as we are doing, as the cars go through turns 1 and 2, you might just glance up yourselves into the corner. You'll see the scoreboard. That's lap 254 right now. Kind of tough to see, but we'll tighten in just a bit right there. So we'll be able to keep you up to speed on the exact lap count. 77 Barrier, 72 Dillon, 59 Presley, 33 Tim Fedewa. Interesting story there. You know, we had touched on the fact that Butch Enders is leaving the 33 car as crew chief after this day is done. No replacement has been named as of yet. And wouldn't it be something, as normally it seems to happen, as a going away kind of situation? They're having one of the best runs of the year.
Well, the car we're talking about right now is pulling up on Robert Presley on the back straightaway. The 33 and the 59 are really fighting it out right now. Tim Fedewa able to keep his car right on the bottom of the racetrack.
That is for third place here at Hickory. As Presley goes wide, Fedewa stays low, and Matt Kenseth closes in from the rear as well. Good racing in the final 40 laps here at Hickory. We're live on TNN Motorsports. Welcome back to Hickory. The race leader, the 77 Ed Berrier. We're at lap 265, 35 laps from the finish. 72 Mike Dillon, 17 Matt Kenseth now running in third. He's gotten by Robert Presley, who drops back to fourth, and fifth position now will be Hermie Sadler as we work near the finish of the Galaxy Foods 300 here in Hickory.
We missed Tim Fedewa there. He's moved up into third place, and Kenseth in fourth. As they go down there fighting it out now, he got by him as we were talking.
Indeed did. So Kenseth now makes the move around Fedewa. Again, if you're just joining us with a power failure here at Hickory, we're working with just one camera as Buddy Baker and I are here in the uplink truck. We only had a brief interlude with Glenn Jarrett and Steve Burns, who checked in quickly, but they're not with us on the telecast at this moment, nor is Larry McReynolds. He is here, but because of space constraints, just Buddy and I working here in the uplink truck. And look at Kenseth, the 17.
Matt Kenseth, you know, he's going to run Winston Cup in Talladega for Jack Roush.
Yeah.
Jack Roush says this guy has more talent than any young driver he's watched in many years. Got a brilliant future, and as anybody that was in Rockingham watched that last lap move he made to win the race there, they know that Mike Dillon better pick it up.
No doubt about it. You got that one nailed. Lap 271, 29 laps to go. We're doing the same thing you are, just kind of peeking at that scoreboard as it comes up on the screen. We're coming to 28 laps remaining. Now what, did Kenseth just save this, or is the track coming to him now here as the shadows grow longer?
Eli, he has that ability to drive his race car and not overextend the tires. He has the feeling his background is on the racetrack just like this. He's very talented, and right now Mike Dillon's coming back to him.
Indeed he is. There's 74, Randy LaJoie, back on the racetrack after repairs on pit road. The leader, Ed Berrier, number 77, Jeff Krogh, just ahead of him in that yellow and blue number 56. Already number of laps down.
Watching Ed Berrier there, 77, leading this race, it's hard to believe he's never won a Grand National race, because he is really mowing these guys down today.
25 laps remaining. Robert Presley not on the screen right now, but still putting down a lot of smoke out of that number 59. The Kingsford charcoal machine has been smoking much of the afternoon. Joe Bessie, the number 6, involved in an early accident today back at lap 94. That's why he has the modified look.
You can see him hoodless as he goes by there. Took a lot of sheet metal off that car, did a lot of damage to the front end settings also.
Now Mac Kenseth, the 17, has just made the move around Dillon, and again with one camera available to us, we kind of try and pick up as best we can. There is Kenseth having made the move around the 72 of Dillon, so Kenseth now in second.
In second, and putting 5 car lengths on the second place car of Dillon in just 2 laps. This car is flying around this racetrack.
If you were with us at Rockingham, you remember that Kenseth was in second place on the last lap going for the win in the NASCAR Busch Series race at the Rock. He kind of rooted Tony Stewart out of the way, who was looking for the victory, and went on to take the win in the final 300 yards of the race.
How good? Oh, we have
problems.
Mark Green
into the wall. Lap 280, as you can clearly see. Mark Green, caution. Right front tire is what it looked like, buddy.
Yeah, you could see the sparks as he started into turn 1. The right front was down and straight into the wall.
So Mark Green brings out caution for the 10th time today as he loses a right front tire and goes into the wall in turn number 1. Berrier leads, Kenseth is second, Dillon is third, Hermie Sadler is fourth on TNN. The same day that Ed Berrier led the Busch race back in August of 1990. Our cameras are back up and everything is. A big thank you to everybody who kept us back on the air.
Matt Kenseth in second place only has high gear. When they go back to the restart, he's really got to anticipate the start.
They're going to get the restart now with 14 laps to go. The 25-lap rule does not apply here. So there you see the lap cars on the inside. So it's going to be interesting restart here. Yeah, he only has high gear, but that's almost like first gear, like you mentioned.
You can see him dropping back right there. He lost about 10 car lengths to the leader down into turn 1.
Again, down the final few moments here. Lap 287, 13 to go. Now the 99 is in 15th spot, Glenn Allen. There's Kenseth losing the spot to Presley, to Cope. You saw some smoke from the right front of Shane Hall's number 85. Now up front, you've got Berrier, the 77, going around the lap machine of Glenn Allen Jr. Glenn Jarrett is now back online with us. What are you hearing?
Well, Eli, as I reported to you guys to tell you, he only has high gear, and it's a shame because he definitely had the best racetrack. When they run to green, he was mowing them down one right after another. That restart just absolutely killed him. Even though fourth gear is still pretty low here, all those other guys have the other gears to use, and there's just not enough time for him to get back up through there now. They're really disappointed down here. Matt's got a great race car.
You're exactly right, Glenn, and this is a cruel sport. One person that's happy about that is Ed Berrier leading the race right now, and that's 77 as he heads off turn 2.
Mike Dillon is second. Hermie Sadler up to third. Super run for Hermie. You've got Robert Presley with his bumper dragging just a bit. He's running in fourth. Mike Cope is in there in the mix as well. There you see second place, 72. Dillon. Hermie Sadler that was inside of the 29. As we look from Dick Trickle backwards towards Dillon.
You can see Hermie Sadler making a move as they head down into turn 1 there. Hermie Sadler pulls even with Dillon. He's losing that spot.
The older of the Sadler brothers, Hermie, whose average finish here of late has been 9th, is now up to second spot.
You can see he's absent a left front fender on that car in an earlier scrape here. Part of that fender removed. Hermie Sadler made a full change on suspension on that car before the race today. Hey, they guessed right.
They did. It'll be 5 laps to go as they come to the stripe. Hermie Sadler in second. Unless something happens to Berrier, it's not going to be enough time to make up a full 2 seconds. But Hermie, who has led 181 laps here in his last 8 visits and has completed 98% of the laps here at Hickory, is really doing himself proud. Remember, too, he had that leg bone reset after the race at Texas last weekend. Quickly to Glenn Jarrett.
The 72 pits, and Mike's car, he's reporting it got very, very tight all at once. Could have a tire going down to cause that. Tim Fedewa just gave him a big shot in the rear, so he may have trouble holding off Fedewa for third.
Ed Berrier, who took the lead on lap 194.
Eli, the one thing right now Ed Berrier has, it's his race to win. He could do something wrong, but he has a full straightaway lead over Hermie Sadler as they go down the back straightaway.
It will be the white flag next time for the leader. Ed Berrier right there. White flag from Carl Simmons. Ed Berrier, who began in NASCAR Busch Series racing in 1984.
Mike Dillon loses the spot to Tim Fedewa there.
And here comes Berrier in his 208th career NASCAR Busch Series race. He wins. Then Fedewa behind Sadler. So Hermie is second, Fedewa third, Dillon fourth. Kenseth will finish in fifth. Presley comes across the line in 6th. Cope is 7th. Earnhardt Jr. is 8th. Shane Hall 9th. Jason Keller 10th. And Jimmy Means. Yes, he's not on the racetrack, but he's a crew chief, and he is smiling.
And Eli, Jimmy ran hundreds of races as a Winston Cup driver. You get a win today here as the crew chief team manager. How does it feel, Jimmy?
Well, I tell you, I raced for 25 years, drove for 25 years. I've never been that nervous that long. Felt good. Put a bunch of guys together that wanted to go. I didn't know that much about racing, but put their heart and soul in it. I'm happy for the guys that put all the hours in. Happy for our team. Team Lear, UAW, stood behind us. Let me move this down to my shop. Give me all the shop. Let me, run the whole deal. And appreciate Tony Hall and all the associates. They put together a good bunch of guys here. I hope we can do some more of this.
Well, Eli, their best finish before today was 10th, but today they come home the winner.
A super, super run, and we will go to, I'm sure, is going to be a wonderful victory lane ceremony. We're back to Hickory Motor Speedway in a moment. TNN Motorsports live coverage of the Galaxy Foods 300 from the Hickory Motor Speedway has been brought to you by Texaco. Texaco, a world of energy. That is Ed Berrier, the winner of today's Galaxy Foods 300 from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Glenn Jarrett, 208 races, and he's back in victory lane finally.
I can't tell you how much pleasure it gives me to congratulate this guy. Ed, I raced against you. What a great, great day. First win ever for Ford and Busch competition here. Your first win ever. What an awesome day.
It's been a great day, man. I'm telling you what, it got nerve-wracking there at the end because I knew, Dylan was back there, and then I seen the 17 car come up there, and I want to tell you what, the car just drove awesome all day. It got a little loose there at one point, and just kind of tried to save the tires and all, and I knew Dylan was back there, and we made some adjustments on that last stop there, and I'll tell you what, just being in front means a lot, staying out of trouble, and you got the whole racetrack to yourself, and I just got to thank Lear and all these sponsors, UAW, Joe, Poker, Al. Hey, baby, we got one.
They certainly did. As I told you at the beginning of the race, he started on the outside pole. I don't believe he was ever further back than second, Eli.
It was a super day for him. Let's take a look at the rundown. Hermie Sadler, third time in 4 races now. He's finished second here at Hickory. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 8th spot. Keller. Sawinski had a good run today in 19th. Andy Houston in 20th. A lot of guys just kind of championed around there, Larry.
Well, it was kind of one of those days where all you had to do is keep rolling and you could have a good finish.
Don't forget tomorrow, race day coming up here on TNN Motorsports, as you'll get all the latest doings from the world of racing. That's race day, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Hope you can check that out. And coming up next, if you missed part 1 of the racing documentary, This is the IRL, you got to see part 2. So stay tuned. As soon as we move aside, it'll be This is the IRL right here on TNN Motorsports. A big thank you to Buddy Baker, Larry McReynolds, Glenn Jarrett, Steve Burns, and a particular thank you to all the crew members who, through the power failure, got us back on the air as we could bring you the finish of the race. I'm Eli Gold. Have a very safe Easter weekend. So long from Hickory, North Carolina.